Welcome in, everybody, to the Power Option Podcast. Just out here running the damn ball from west to east. Here to talk about some Week 9 action, a little bit of Week 10. Garrett, how are you?
Oh, I am good. Week 10 has been happening and is currently happening right now. Jacksonville State is at a 7-7 tie at Liberty, and Western Kentucky is up 7-0 home against Kennesaw State.
Yeah.
This is the last Conference USA Wednesday of the season. I'm kind of going to be sad it's gone because it's nice to kind of have on midweek.
Yeah, the Tuesday, Wednesdays games have been huge. It's like when they first started happening, I was like, what's going on? Am I watching reruns right now? And no, it's just games.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, so, but it's fun. It's fun to have those games on. This is a week. So there have been pretty decent Friday games all year. This week, San Diego State travels to Boise. Not that that's going to be a particularly good game, but it's a great Friday showcase if Genty can go off.
Yeah, great. I know. Great thing to turn on like at the dinner time. Well, dinner time for me. It's going to be good.
Yeah, so it's a good time. So anyway, excited for the week to come. It's a little lighter week. There's not as many games, but there are some impactful, really decent games, including the can Franklin actually beat someone game of the year.
Is that this week? I feel like last week was the Franklin's going to get beat for sure game.
Yeah, but we probably weren't fair to him. Franklin doesn't actually really lose the games except to the big two. Like, it feels like they lose a game they should win, but you know what? Really, the only games that they lose are against the best teams in the conference. Yeah, and so this is the one that really they lose.
Yeah,
so,
and then you lose this game. And then you lose this game, you play Michigan, you lose that game, you can't play for the Big Ten championship all of a sudden. It doesn't. Yeah. It feels like you had no season when in reality you had Franklin has a pretty good season. Of the old men coaches, him, Ferentz, Whittingham, Gundy, he's probably he's probably the shiniest of all of them.
Oh yeah. You take him over Ferentz for sure.
Yeah.
You take him over Gundy. You take him over. I mean, look, you'd probably take him over all but maybe 10 active head coaches.
Yeah, I mean if he leaves Penn State, he's gonna have he could go do the NFL thing probably if he wanted. He doesn't really feel like that guy, but
I don't think he does either. I think he'd just get another look. The list of teams that'll have an opening that will hire that man is not low.
Yeah.
Right? You get let's just say, for example, Dion moves on from Colorado. Like, that Colorado job is a step down, but they would jump all over it getting.
Yeah, maybe they bring out the big bucks to do it. And then depending on what happens, depending on how long he stays, what happens with DeBoer, who I think is fine, and I think he's going to get everything sorted out. But the post DeBoer Alabama job could be a thing that even frankly could slot into. I assume he probably leaves the Big Ten, but maybe Michigan says we'll give you $1 billion to like we did what's his name, and then maybe he goes there or something. So he feels like in the slightly above category of Brian Kelly. In that, sure. Brian Kelly left. Sure. It makes sense that I feel like the Brian Kelly move to LSU. It probably is a upgrade in job because you get talent and stuff. But the schools in general wasn't way crazy. So I feel like Penn State looks like that similar kind of. It's got that similar kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's fairly even. Look, if Franklin leaves right now, you hire him for the Florida State job in a second. You don't bat an eye. You don't think twice. You hire him for the Florida State job for the second.
You just throw money at him, throw money in his face when he's walking out of the building. That's what they got to do that. They have to.
Yeah, you fire Norvell before you even know that you're going to get him. You just go, look, we've already put your name on the top of the actual in the coach's office. Yeah. We've already put your pictures up on the wall. We've called your wife. Yeah. This has to happen. There's that's the kind of program that would take him in a second.
Yeah. There's furniture in the house that you want to, wherever you want to do. It's there. We'll figure it out. We got a plane coming.
Another program that might have an opening that would take him in a second. The Utah Utes.
That would be a great thing for Utah to pick up Franklin.
And I don't even know that I could say it's an upgrade for Utah, like with the Utah sensibilities, like could he do it in Utah? But you'd give him that shot.
Oh, definitely. That's a great.
Chance.
Yeah, that's a great move to be able to get that guy post Whittingham. That's a fantastic move.
Yeah, yeah. Now on the other side, since we're just talking about this game, we'll just talk about this game. If Penn State wins this game, then Ryan Day is really tricky, right? Because Ryan Day is also a very good football coach.
He is.
But he's starting to turn into kind of what Franklin is. Like, you're a really good football coach, except you don't win the couple of big games you have to win.
Right. Yeah, and he's done that. He basically has boss fights. He's had boss fights for a majority of the time that he's been at Ohio State. I mean, every year, obviously, but he had the Michigan one where he was doing good at the beginning of the Harbaugh Michigan era, and then it flipped at the end. And then then if you can't beat Franklin, then are you going to be able to handle this? Obviously, then they lose to Oregon. Then you're going to have USC around all the time. Like I don't think USC is going to beat Ohio State soon, but USC is potentially one recruiting class away from being super dangerous in the Big Ten, and things like that.
Yeah.
So if you get beat by Penn State, all of a sudden it's like, what's happening now? Ohio State's a big enough brand where they could do the Michigan and Harbaugh thing, or they could do Kirby Smart at Georgia thing, where they just go get the guy that they can do all the things. Ryan Day is teetering. I'm sure the Ohio State faithful would rather have him than not have him, but I'm sure it's kind of pushing the edges of their patience. I have to assume.
Well, here's the deal. You lose this game, but you win out. You still go to the playoff. You don't embarrass yourself in a playoff. You're probably fine.
Yeah.
Right? Probably. But that also assumes that you win a home game against the undefeated Hoosiers on the 22nd of November. If you lose this game and you lose that game, then that means you lost every marquee game on your schedule. Right. That's a problem.
That is a problem. I think he's got enough. He's got enough on the resume in his time there that it's not, hey, Ryan Day, you got to go problem. But
I don't think you fire him. But
no, it's sketchy.
But here's the thing. I don't think you fire him. But would I fall over dead shocked if you fire him? No.
No,
I think it would be dumb, and it would be like pulling the trigger, and it's hard to replace a guy like that, right?
Yeah.
But let's say you fire him, and then you offer Cignetti all of the money in the world.
That's interesting. I was gonna say, who do you put there behind Ryan Day? Like, if you got it, I was gonna go NFL, which that's not always great. That doesn't always just work out, obviously. But Cignetti, who's doing basically lifting pieces of earth around, and what he's got going on in Indiana. If you go Ryan, we've loved your time here. You've brought us a lot of wins. We couldn't get a national championship, but we won the Big Ten sometimes. We beat Michigan sometimes. That's cool, We knew that you probably weren't urban, and so you're good. We got this not young, he's an old man, but we got this guy who's winning, just a couple of states over. Why don't we just throw some money at him, and then worst case we look like Alabama and picking up DeBoer or whatever, we just burn a guy for a little while, and that's okay.
Also, I just want to mention this. I'm not even mentioning this to say that this is real or anything. It's really just a note. But Rhett Lashley at Southern Methodist is 25-10 in 3 seasons. He went 7-6 in year 1 at 22, and last year he went 11-3. He's 7-1 right now and undefeated in the ACC. He's still in the running for the ACC championship and a first-round bye. Yeah. Is he the best team of the 3? No, but he's in place.
Right.
And here's the other thing: SMU, Clemson, and one other team don't play this year. There's a possibility that they're going to have to go to a tiebreaker that doesn't have anything to do with games played in the ACC when it gets down to it, which means they don't even have to be better than Clemson.
No.
They just have to win out and make a tiebreaker, and then they have their one game at the end, which Clemson might not make because of the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So
and they're gonna have to
all
do
this
some
crazy shit.
They're gonna have to do some weird tiebreaker, like some 1960s Texas high school football tiebreaker rules, where two pigs run into the hole first, and then that's the guy who goes through, which is like that's kind of just a crazy situation that we could be in. Yeah,
it goes to the first two tiebreakers are head to head between the teams, but since those three teams don't play each other, the next set of tiebreakers is opponent winning percentage.
Okay,
which could also be a tie.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's a company, and they're always the company that's listed in these, called Team Sports Science or something, and they do a ranking. They do a computer ranking, and a bunch of conferences use that as their tiebreaker. So then you've got that as a tiebreaker, and then if that doesn't break the tie because these teams are even or they're not separated enough from each other to separate them, then it's just a draw. Then they just draw names out of a hat.
That's what I mean. Like that's like some real we could be in some Groundhog Day type stuff.
Yep.
Just because it's like we didn't have anything else to do. The other thing about it is the ACC is deep enough throughout the conference that I think Clemson is the best team in the ACC. I think that's a thing that I'm okay with saying at this point. But the entirety of the ACC can beat up on the rest of the ACC. Like Clemson's got Louisville next, it's not a gimme. Then they got Virginia Tech, Pitt, also not a gimme, and then Citadel, South Carolina. And South Carolina may also not be a gimme.
Sure, I agree.
So that's three games.
That is a tough schedule. That's a tough schedule.
Yeah, it's not
Virginia
good.
Tech finally figured out how to not lay down and be bitches.
Right, for sure.
Louisville might not be as good as Virginia Tech right now. And at the beginning of the season, I thought Louisville was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pitt, even though in conference they've only scored 92 points, have only given up 52 points.
Yeah.
They're maybe the best defensive team in the conference.
Right.
And so that's no joke.
Right. And then it's and then from Miami, they have Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse. Like Duke, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, all losable games by Miami. If one of those teams figures out how to stop Cam Ward on, in a quarter, like all of a sudden, we got to deal with that. And then SMU finishes off things with, they got Pitt, Boston College, Virginia, Cal. They probably have the easiest slate of the three, I would say. But Pitt is not going to be easy. Boston College is not good, but they're good enough
they're not terrible. They're good enough to win that game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And then in Cal too. Cal is good enough to get one. Yeah. The ACC is just
they really shouldn't be 0-4 in conference, Cal. They should have gotten a win.
No, they really should have. Yeah, and they've been looking okay about it too. So man, the ACC is so fun. It's wild at the ACC. But anyway,
it's great. I just want to point out to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, before you say that, I want to point out to everybody that you listed off those three teams' schedules at the end. Those three teams don't play each of those other three teams.
Exactly. So
it was Miami was the third team I couldn't remember.
Yep.
So they all could win out. Now, if Pitt beats one of these teams that they play, because Pitt plays one of them, they break up the tiebreaker situation potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, these three teams could go undefeated. I don't know. I want to come out and say I still think Miami is the best team in the conference from what I thought at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I can say that. I don't know. I got to look at the advanced stats more.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I mean, let's see. Next week, when did I say that the first college football ranking comes out?
I thought it was supposed to be week 8 or something, but maybe it's week 10.
No, I thought so too, but it was like, nope, it's too early. So, okay, fine.
Yeah. I bet it's week 10.
Anyway, it's either next week or the week after. I think once we get to that point, I think that's when I really I'm going to care more about how I feel about how good these teams are. It'll be more interesting to talk about the difference between these teams. But right now, it's still close.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think Cam Ward is such a monster that if you said to me he makes Miami the best team in the conference, I'd say fine. And then just Clemson being 6-1 right now and undefeated in conference, and it being Dabo and his history, and you said to me that he's the best, I would say also fine. So I think we're right there.
Yeah, very good. Okay, let's talk about the Week 9 games real quick. We just did enough on the ACC, so I pulled the ACC games out of there. I think the ACC has been thoroughly covered.
True.
And the ACC is good. Like
good.
I'm happy that the top of the ACC is what it is, even though I just hate these schedules where the teams don't play. I hate them.
It is annoying.
I would rather them be in divisions and the teams at least play all the teams in the division.
Yeah, and then we just get the champions.
I want
who
it to
play
be
each
able
other.
to figure it out on the field.
Yeah, I agree. Like to have to do like weird rules at the end. Like when we're basing it on a company that's most people use to decide, like that's silly.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. It's weird. So anyway, all right. But a great early game on Friday. Boise State 29, UNLV 24. UNLV put together the right game plan to win. Like they put together, they held Genty to
only 128 yards.
Yeah, only 128.
Yeah.
On 33 carries, they held him to negative EPA.
Wow.
Yeah, they did. They played him great. That's a lot of carries for only one touchdown. There was a lot of low value runs out of that. They had far less plays from scrimmage than Boise State, which is probably what got them. Boise State just, even if you're not winning the EPA per play situation, if you're doing that over 20 more plays almost, then you're going to give yourself a good chance to win if you're not turning the ball over, and they didn't.
Right.
UNLV had 0.21 EPA per play, which is great, 82nd percentile, where Boise State was 0.08, which is 60 percentile, which is fine. But Boise State was just a little bit better for longer. Especially after they came out of the half, really. It was about the 60th play that they took back over the win probability chart, and then they just kept rolling. And they won a game that they were a 3.5-point favorite by 5, so I guess that's about right.
Yeah, and I think this is big because UNLV is a good team. It's a very good team. Inside of a Mountain West Conference that overall is it's on a pretty good swing. It's not an incredibly deep year for the Mountain West, but
sure,
like there's games in there. So UNLV is good, and I like this a lot for Boise State. I'm fully locked into the Genty madness and Boise State and everything. I'd love to see them get to the playoff. I hope they figure that out. But I think that this is a great game for the potential of that, because this a thing that you and me and Tyler talk about a lot is can you finish the game and do everything you need? Now these two teams are pretty close, but I think Boise State figuring things out, like they were down going into the second quarter, and it looked weird. Like Genty was not his normal crazy self, and so there was moments. We were recording last week when this game was on, and I remember being distracted at times, thinking like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And the fact that Boise State figured it out in the second half gives me a really like a lot of confidence in them finishing out the remainder of this season, and beating everybody they need to in the Mountain West, and then winning the Mountain West, and getting into the playoff. Like I think that they do. The rest of their season is incredibly manageable for what they do, and if they can maintain the craziness that they've been on, and if they do that, then I think this is the type of game that voters will look back on and say that was good for them.
Yeah, look, this is the best team that they had in conference. The only team of real consequence left in conference. And they played Oregon to 3 points.
Which is huge.
That's a good football team.
Yeah,
that's a good football team. Just all the way around, good football team. Sometimes you have to win a game like this, and they did it. They literally could run their way out, and they should. I mean, I expect them to win the conference at this point. I just expect it.
I think so too.
They're better than it. Like if you got to play a rematch against UNLV for the conference championship game, then that's the game I think that they could lose. But other than that, everybody else they should just roll through. So
yeah.
They started it here.
Yeah,
next up, Nebraska 17, Ohio State 21. Nebraska is tough on defense. They showed it in this game. Both teams had a negative 0.15 EPA per play. Ohio State was good on everything else, success rates and yards per play, and EPA per dropback and yards per dropback, and they lost the turnover battle, which doesn't help. So was it a great performance by Ohio State? No, they didn't have a lot of plays. They cannot run the ball particularly efficiently.
No,
and that's going to be their problem long term.
Yeah,
that's their problem long term is they can't run the ball. But other than that, it's a tough game at home against a tough opponent, middle of the year in the Big Ten. That's not so strange.
No, there's a part of me that wanted to question, is Ohio State not good? Is Nebraska, what is Nebraska? But I start that conversation in my mind and then I shoot away because Nebraska's good. They're good.
Yeah.
Like Matt Rule is figuring some stuff out here. This is not some one-dimensional team with McClones in the backfield or something. Like Raiola is fine. Right. I think he's a freshman, right?
He's a freshman.
Yeah, so there you go. So I mean, he's a freshman. He's doing cool things for a freshman, which is notable. But he's not doing some crazy, Johnny Manziel running around all sorts of nuts kind of stuff.
He's not getting Heisman buzz.
No.
But he's holding it together okay.
Yeah, he's putting things together. And then the Nebraska defense, I watched a lot of defensive snaps, and they were quality, and Judkins from Ohio State they've got an uphill battle, like you're saying. Like just in general, they just can't really run the football. They haven't been able to do that against anybody that they've been playing outside of just the schlubs. But like Judkins is he's there. He's a runner. He's relevant. And Nebraska really put the kibosh on it. And then the wide receiving staff that Ohio State has, that Will Howard has access to, is a bunch of freaks. Like it's just a gaggle of freaks. And even those guys were tamed, relatively by this Nebraska squad. So Ohio State, I hope that they kissed the ground at the shoe when they left, and pray to whatever football gods they do that they got to win here, because they very easily could have lost this game. Nebraska is quality enough to get there. It's unfortunate that they lost. I shouldn't say unfortunate. It probably makes sense that they lost, but this is quality team, So and Ohio State looks better, I think, as well by you shake off the Oregon loss and everything, and you come in here and you're at home and you beat Nebraska. That's got to feel good for confidence, especially as you have to go to Happy Valley next week or this coming week and figure things out. So this was all in all, I think, a good sign from both sides, and just good Big Ten football.
Sure. Now, after saying all that, I think if you played this 10 times, this would be the closest this game would be.
Maybe, but I think it's 4 points. I think you have games in there that are 5 points. I disagree. I think that this game, two of those, 3 of those 10 out of those 10 comes up as 3-point games. A couple come up to a touchdown or something. I don't think it's that close. I think it's that close consistently.
I don't know. This is what I think. I think Nebraska's defense is very good.
Yeah.
And very strong and very tough. But Nebraska's offense is not that good. Like, Raiola's been fine, but he's not that good. And Ohio State's defense is very good, and so they just have to hang around for the offense to just do a few things. And I think there's a much bigger gap between Ohio State's offense and Nebraska's defense, and Nebraska's offense and Ohio State's defense. I think just that gap is just a little bigger because there's just too many offensive weapons at Ohio State.
But does Will Howard
I wouldn't die on that hill.
Yeah,
I wouldn't die on that hill.
And I just I think from a talent perspective, you're 100% right. But I just don't know. I don't know if at this point, this Ohio State team, even though there was a time when I would have said to you that I thought that they were the best. I think that I did say to you that they're the best team in the country.
Yeah. I also thought they were the best team in the country.
But I don't know. I no longer know if that's the case, and not to say that they couldn't go win games. They still have big marquee games left, and I think that they'll win them. But I do think the defense is good, but I don't think Will Howard in this offense is complete enough to not deal with problems like this Nebraska team, like a good defense is going to cause for them.
See, it's funny that you say that, because I think that Will Howard might be the best quarterback in this tier of quarterbacks. Like I think he's better than
Gabriel?
Beck. No, I don't know that he's better than Gabriel. Gabriel's the one that I think is on top, and I don't think he's better than Ward.
No, yeah.
I don't think he's better than Gabriel, and I don't think he's better than Ward. But I might be talked into the fact that he's better than everybody else.
I want
to look at his numbers. Now, I should note that he is second in the country in EPA per dropback. He's a better passer than I thought he was.
Yeah. Only four interceptions, 17 touchdowns, and he's at a 74% completion percentage.
Now, his sack-adjusted yards is suck because he's not particularly super mobile.
No.
So his sack-adjusted yards are much lower than like everybody else. But I don't know. I feel like with more bites of the apple, there's a better chance that Will Howard is going to score points throwing because that's what he's done all year, even though it hasn't been like super explosive and crazy and whatever. And he doesn't have to drop back very often, but when he does, he's really good. Was he hurt? He might have been out. Maybe because he only shows 5 games on this chart, so he must have been hurt or didn't play a lot early or something.
No, maybe.
And again, it's not a hill that's not a hill I'd die on either. If you told me no, but I'm just looking at everybody else. Like, I don't think he's better than Curtis Rourke, but Curtis Rourke hurt his hand, and I don't know when he's going to play again.
Yeah,
he's not better than Cam Ward. No. He's better than Drew Aller. I'd take Howard over Drew Aller at Penn
definitely
State.
Better than Drew Aller.
I'd take him over Jackson Dart at Ole Miss.
I think it's close. I would take him over it, but I don't know how definitive that is. Like Jackson Dart in a different situation.
I might take him over Klubnik.
I would definitely take him over Klubnik. Yeah, I'd take him. I probably put him. He's closer to Beck to me. He's Beck. He's probably better than Beck.
He's probably better than Beck. I think he's better than Beck. Maybe Beck is the inlet, but I'd take him over Nussmeier in a fucking second.
Oh yeah, but now you're just talking about taking a 20.
I'm just talking bullshit. I know. I'm just talking about an asshole.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm just talking about a straight up.
For real.
Like I saw an article. Something like somebody was like, "Oh, Nussmeier's little dark horse Heisman." Are you fucking kidding me?
Get out of here.
Anybody that says that had only watched him play like a couple of games that they were good.
Yeah,
he doesn't. It's no good. Just you know what? It's not even a soapbox I need to be on. Anyway,
right.
And maybe that's speaking more to like I take him over Ewers right now for sure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with Ewers' performance this year,
right.
Maybe not overall, but Ewers this year just hasn't been as good.
Right.
Number-wise, he hasn't been as good.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, that's a long talk about that to something that doesn't matter. Because,
right. But
again, it's a kind of thing that's going to get sussed out. Well, we're going to find out real soon.
Right.
Because if they don't beat Penn State, it's going to be because Howard doesn't play. If they play the same kind of game and they're not as good as I think they are,
then
they lose this game.
Yeah,
and then it's simple.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's simple. All right, let's talk about Notre Dame 51, Navy 14. I don't want to spend a lot of time here because I don't want to rub it in. Navy season has been incredible. But I mentioned before that I thought the team that was going to take the L of these two teams was going to be Navy because it just looked like it.
Yeah.
Like they just aren't quite as put together, right? And Notre Dame is a very good team. Like their loss betrays them some, and they certainly have the most opportunity for teams in this range, in this top 10-ish range, 10, 15, to just get beat. But when they're playing really well and the defense is playing really well, they're very good. And they just shut down everything that Navy had, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've both known every time we've talked about Army Navy, we've talked about them a lot because we're both very excited about the years that they're having. It was, I think, every single time we kind of there was an asterisk in our voice, whether we said it or we didn't, that like it's fun that Navy and Army are what they are, but it's kind of just that. And it's unfortunate.
It's a little sideshow. It's a little bit,
and so like I think Army has the better shot to not get absolutely mollywopped, but I don't think that they run away with a win against Notre Dame. And I think it would be a very deep upset situation if Army wins that game. I would love it. I'd be excited about it. And I'd be sad for Notre Dame and Freeman because I'm a fan of what they have going on there. But I don't suspect that that's going to happen. So it's unfortunate. Right. It's not, luckily for Navy and Army, it doesn't matter from a conference standpoint. So they're not out completely from a college football playoff perspective. I mean, they kind of are if they both lose to Notre Dame, but it's not done. So that's interesting.
The tricky thing is you can't, this is the problem with Navy. If you have to compare a one-loss Navy that wins the American and gets blown out by Notre Dame and wins everything else versus a Boise State one-loss that had a 3-point loss to Oregon.
Yeah, they're not winning.
Obviously, Boise State just looks better.
For sure. Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough. So. But I'm saying though, it's not. This isn't the killing blow.
No, they can still have an awesome, all-time great season, and this loss won't matter that much, which is fine.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, which is fine. Okay, let's talk about Illinois versus Washington. I want to talk about Washington versus Indiana, and then Illinois versus Oregon.
Yeah.
I just like to get the Indianas and the Illinois out. First, Washington 17, Indiana 31. So Indiana played their backup quarterback because, as I mentioned, Rourke's hand is hurt. Trayvon Jackson is limited. They quarterbacked him like he was limited, which they should have done. They ran the ball a lot. They had negative EPA overall because they didn't get a lot of value in their runs, but they ran the ball 74% of their plays were rushes, 51 rushes and 18 passes. And so when you can win a game that your backup quarterback's not there or your backup quarterback's in, and you just put the ball in the hands of your running back for 4 quarters and you beat the crap out of a decent Washington team, this team is good. This team might be a problem.
Yeah, I think if with Rourke in the lineup, they are a serious problem.
Yeah,
but even without him, they're going to make people's lives uncomfortable. They're going to do things the rest of the season. They got Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Purdue left, and Michigan State and Michigan, they should have very similar outcomes to what they did to Washington.
Yep.
And then Ohio State needs to be worried. They need to be very, very worried. About everything that
especially
Indiana
if Rourke
has
is healthy.
Oh man. Yeah.
Because they have a bye week before that, so they play these 2 games, and then they get a week off before they play Ohio State.
Yeah, that's dangerous territory. And I mean, this is Cignetti.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is a deep team, both in that they have a guy like Rourke, hopefully he comes back, but also in coachability. This is what we kind of thought. I mean, not 8-0, but what I would have thought about Utah towards the beginning of the year, talking about. We would have talked about them Utah is dangerous, because of the depth of everything that has been around their brand of it. We didn't know that about Indiana at the time, but we're getting in that conversation. This is not a one-dimensional situation.
Yeah. No, that's right. Utah. This is definitely the kind of team that Utah could have been.
Exactly,
for sure.
So
I don't know necessarily as offensively explosive because I just don't think that Utah has it in them. But as far as the general quality compared to their opponents, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Ohio State should be worried.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're very good. Like I say, having that week break, they're going to be ready to go. I guess the only problem is this could be the biggest football game in their history, or at least in the past, who knows how long. So having that extra week to kind of wait for it.
That might,
maybe that blows everything up.
Right.
Maybe the weight of this whole thing finally hits them. But I hope everybody, this is one of those that I hope everybody wins out. As interesting as it would be for Ryan Leaf's life to fall apart, because I think the Ohio State job makes a bunch of things happen in college football.
Ryan Day?
Yes, Ryan Day. Sorry, Ryan Day. If Ryan Day gets fired, Ryan Day loses, and Ryan Day gets fired somehow at Ohio State, the things that will happen in college football when that hire has to happen will change the sport completely.
It's very true.
So that would be interesting, but I'd much rather both of these teams come to this game winning all their games and have this be a marquee, legitimate game that it should be. So I'm excited for that.
Yep.
Also, the game I mentioned that I wanted to mention is the, Illinois 9, Oregon 38. Oregon just did it. They went at a very, very defensively sound, offensively competent team, a very Penn State-like team that was playing really well. It was ranked, and they pretty much beat the crap out of it. They pretty much dominated that game. The score is probably closer than it even had to be.
Yeah, like it was more just gimme type stuff like throughout. Like the first half, it was 5 touchdowns from Oregon before they got out of there. So it's just this was. I was not doubting Oregon to be a good team. I did expect them to win.
Oh yeah,
this
you
game.
were.
Okay, fine. All right. I'll roll it back. What I mean is, like, I expected them to win this game. But
but you didn't think that. I didn't either. Look, I'm gonna be straight up. Like, I thought that I felt like after the Purdue game they were good and they were rolling and they were gonna win this game.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect them to just drop the hammer and be done.
Yeah, Illinois just didn't even have anything going on. Oregon defense just was doing what they wanted to do. Oregon got back on. Oregon offense got back on, and then they scored, and then they did the whole thing again. And so I think this is big though, because as we talked about last week, I was like they goose egg Purdue as they should have, but they did it post Ohio State, so we weren't doubting of it. And this game too, it's like Oregon is really going. We are the number 1 team in the nation. Like everybody, you need to understand this about us. It is happening. We know we were weird at the beginning of the year. We understand, but we're done with all of that, and we're here to do it. And the rest of their season should just be 4 more games of this: Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin, Washington. It should just be an absolute trouncing if they do it, and they are really the number 1 team. But at this point, there's nothing for me to say that they aren't that, and that they don't roll very, very luxuriously and smoothly into the Big Ten championship, and then just probably bop whoever's they meet there as well.
Yeah, and not to say, because I mentioned it before, and I think Oregon should get the benefit of the doubt here. You're gonna have a November Big Ten game that's gonna suck. Like, you're just gonna have one. You're gonna have a November Big Ten game that you're going to win, but you're going to look like Ohio State looked against Nebraska.
It's true.
Right? You're just going to have a game where the matchup is good. This was the game I more likely thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Where you play a good – you play an Iowa-esque team, but they were like, nah, we just are going to wipe the face of – we just wiped them off the face of the earth, and I was just very impressed. This is a team that's decided, since they got the number 1 ranking, like you said, they're just going to hold on to it.
Yeah, hopefully.
In a game that should maybe cause some worry. Not a lot of worry, but some worry. Texas 27, Vanderbilt 24. So here's the thing. Vandy didn't play. Vandy did what they did against Alabama, which is the advanced numbers. If you built this game just using the numbers, you would probably not give Vandy a high post-game win expectancy.
No.
But sometimes it happens that the game unfolds differently. And so even though Texas's win probability was up for most of the game, except they're real late when Vandy started to kind of make a run, Texas absolutely didn't put anybody away. They didn't shut it down. They didn't dominate. Like at the beginning of the season, you would have expected this game to be 49-12.
Definitely, 100%. And it wasn't, and like to the stats point, I'm just looking at sort of the box stuff, but like Pavia wasn't inspirational. 16 for 29, 143 yards passing. He had 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 interceptions, and they were pretty goofy. They were kind of goofy interceptions. I don't think I would put the 100% of blame on him for both of them, but still like turnovers. And then the best rusher they had was Pavia, and he only had 67 yards rushing. Their next best guy was Alexander, and he had 32 yards rushing and no touchdowns. So it's like this felt like a Vandy, like this looks like what I would expect out of Vandy, but somehow they had to keep it close. And I think that there's not I don't think Texas has a problem. I don't think they have a problem. I think it's fine. But like Ewers, he passed his face off, 27 for 37, 288 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which is rough. And so they, again, I don't think Texas has a problem. I still think that they're likely the best team in the SEC. I feel good about saying that. I almost feel good about saying that. Georgia is Georgia, obviously, but they were odd. They were very odd inside of a situation that they shouldn't have been. So I'm hoping that Sark, based on him taking Ewers out, last week for that little while, he said it was just to give him a minute or whatever. But I don't know. That doesn't really happen that often in college football. So based on that and a weird game against Vandy, a Vandy team that didn't do anything that was inspirational to get the points that they got, like they're starting to get some wobbles in the Texas foundation. It's a little frightening.
Look, before this game, I was adamant, and I said this out loud, that I didn't expect Texas A&M to have a shot when they played each other.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, this second, I think that Texas A&M could win coin flip.
Definitely.
Like they're a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, if it's at Kyle
beating
Field,
Texas right now.
Yeah, if it's at Kyle Field, it's going to be a problem for Texas. And I think
I don't know where it is. Where is it?
It's at Kyle Field, so that's
okay.
That's going to be a problem.
A friend of the show, my friend Travis, he is a big Texas fan, and he has been telling me all year that the Texas A&M game is a game he's been worried about. And I was like, look, that Texas A&M offense is so bad, I don't think it's even going to be there. But I, who is a big Mike Elko fan, apparently forgot that Mike Elko's really good at his job.
Yes, he is.
And so it turns out Mike Elko's really good at his job.
Yep.
And so they might be really good. They're not really good. They also have bad offense syndrome. They have really talented defense, bad offense syndrome. But the thing that Mike Elko did is that he built Duke teams with really tough, put together, overachieving spirit. And that's what they're kind of doing.
Yeah.
And if they keep when you're overachieving in the ACC and you're just not particularly talented, then that means sometimes you go to a big bowl every so often and you win 9 games. When you overachieve in the SEC and you have like by 24/7 numbers like the top 4 talent in the nation, then all of a sudden when you're overachieving, you fuck around and win the SEC.
Which is they're lining up the pins to do just that.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
It's absolutely nuts.
Of all of the crazy thoughts to me, Texas A&M getting better as the season goes and in a position to legitimately put themselves into the SEC championship game in where there's no conferences is crazy.
It's crazy. But I love it too because it's like it makes the like Jimbo, the dumb assery of Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M so much better. Because it's just like, what was he doing? What was he doing this whole time? Like Mike Elko was great.
He was not a good football coach. That's the whole trick. He was a good recruiter. And he's one of those coaches that the new game has passed him by, like what I thought was going to happen to Dabo, but he apparently figured it out.
Yeah.
But Jimbo couldn't figure it out.
No.
And so, like, here's what I'm going to say, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about this because there's a game I forgot to put on the list, and we've mentioned the team in that game a few times, but it is absolutely has to be noted, and I'm glad I didn't forget it. But if Mike Elko wins the SEC championship this year, they need to put a statue in front of the stadium right now. Right now. If he gets assassinated the day afterwards, he's the greatest coach in Texas A&M history. I feel so strongly about that.
For sure.
All right. The game that needs mention, and not a long amount of mention, but a game worth mention, SMU 28, Duke 27. SMU has to come back in a raggedy game late to win after being ahead, and Duke has to come back, but that's not what's known. This is what's known, and it'll be maybe the only time in our lifetime, we may see something like this. I don't know if we'll ever see it again. Duke won the turnover battle 6-0. Duke lost a football game at home in which they recovered 6 more turnovers than the team they played against. That is nuts.
Look, you saying that, I flash back into, I played high school football on a high school football team, and we got our asses kicked regularly. And so we would get our asses kicked on Friday. I would have time to stew about it for Saturday and Sunday, and then on Monday afternoon before practice, we would go and watch film. And my coach would be like, "Yeah, that's what happened. Why are you standing there? You didn't want to hold on to the ball. Just ream us for an hour." And I guarantee that film room for Duke was rough. Like, you would give up 6 and you lose by a point in overtime. I can't even fathom. That is the coaching equivalent of like having your son leave his jacket on the plane. Like, or his shoes.
Right, yeah. You left your shoes on the plane.
Like your shoes? Yeah, like that's nuts. So this is, that's unfortunate. SMU, I'm happy that they won because I like what's happening there, but I would have liked also for Duke to be 7-1 at this point and not have lost in such a heinous way.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, that's all we need to say about that. Quick mention, I just want to quickly mention BYU 8-0 after a road win against UCF. They might be the best team in the Big 12.
I think.
How the hell did that happen?
I don't know what Sataki just got some bruise together. Like, I don't know what he's happening, but I mean it's crazy. It's crazy to see. Also, when we talked about this, UCF was a 2.5 point favorite. I think Vegas had, and at no point, at no point, the end score of this game feels like it was close. There was no point at all during any factor of this game was this game close at all. Like, UCF was not even, they weren't even in the ballpark. Like, they figured they got a couple of gimme touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but I don't know what, like, that was one of those lines where I was like, does Vegas know something I'm not? And then all throughout this whole game, I just went, oh yeah, they just guessed. Or like they just had some bad info or something, because BYU just trampled them.
Yeah, they had bad info. And some other podcast or some other thing I was reading was like, nobody understands why this line was that way. Yeah. Like, nobody gets it.
And there's a bunch of people that made a bunch of money on that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was gonna say that even if I wanted to say that I think Kansas State is the best team in the Big 12, well, guess who beat them already?
There you go.
BYU.
And they beat them
handily.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, I don't know how good BYU is compared to anyone else. I have no gauge of it.
No, I don't know either. I feel like
it might be the best team in the Big 12.
I think maybe too. It's like do they beat Boise State? I don't know the answer to that question. It feels like
probably
they don't,
right.
But I see. I'm on the side of them not. But I don't have any good. I don't have a reason. Just because Genty is the only reason I think Boise State wins that. But that's not even like, I don't know. I don't have anything definitive. So I don't know about BYU. I think that they are legit. I think that they're very dangerous. I think that they are the best team in the Big 12. But I don't know what the where the ceiling is.
Well, here's the thing. They beat SMU on the road early before anybody knew how good they were. And SMU is good, right? Then they beat Kansas State at home, and they trounced them. Mm-hmm. They beat a Baylor team that was bad at the time and might be better. And UCF is okay.
Yeah, they're not. It's not.
UCF's not good, but they're okay.
Yeah, they're
right?
Okay. They've had some good games.
You got the Holy War in 2 weeks. Honestly, BYU should beat the shit out of them.
Yeah,
that might be the least close Holy War that there's going to be in a while.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
Kansas is bad. Arizona State's okay. Houston is okay. Easily, those games are all easily winnable.
Yeah.
But even though they're number 9 and we're 10 weeks in the season, I can't sit here and say that I expect them to win all those games.
Yeah, I don't
because
think
I don't know that they will.
Yeah, it's just like we have so much history of Sataki not being bad by any means, but being kind of like as you would expect for BYU to be, and this is way overachieving.
All-time great.
Yeah,
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Missouri 0, Alabama 34. Look, there's not a lot to say about this game either.
No.
Missouri had to put their backup in. Missouri is maybe bad, but Alabama doesn't just beat them, they shut them out. And that's a win that Alabama needed desperately.
Yeah.
That was a game that made everybody just for a week go, okay, maybe there's still something there. Maybe we're not the worst. We could be Missouri if this went badly. Yeah. Let's just calm down.
Yeah, I hope it was like, they had one of those like they were in the locker room and just going, guys, this is it. Like we got to go out here. We got to just do the things. We're in practice doing all the stuff. Like we got to get things done today, and they did. And Mizzou is not. I don't think Mizzou is bad, but they're not what they were, last year by any means. So
right.
But this is a good win for Alabama. I think that this has got to get the everything feeling good for them, especially as they have to go. They have to go to LSU to play,
right?
Which is not going to be easy. So eventually, they needed a pickup, So that's good that they got it figured out.
Yeah, I think especially without their quarterback, that's just the problem that Missouri has.
Yeah,
and the other sad thing is that they haven't really beaten anybody.
No,
like they beat BC at home, close but fine. They beat Vandy at home, close, fine. I mean, Vandy turned out to be pretty decent. So those aren't bad wins. Mm-hmm. Those are good wins. Those are certainly top 25 wins, but they weren't like top 10 in the country wins.
No.
And then they got smoked by Texas A&M. And then they had to beat a bad Auburn team close. And then you get shut out by Alabama. You're like they're just at the back end of the rankings, which we'll go over. They're just like hanging out in the rankings. I don't know that it's deserved, except for the fact that you have to have 25 teams ranked. And so, yeah, I think they stay there. But Alabama, if you're a top 15 team, then you beat this team 34-0.
Yeah.
If you're a top 10 team, you beat this team 34-0.
Yeah.
So that's fine. That's a fine win.
Yep.
I think that we've pretty much talked about the rest of the teams that are on here. I guess Colorado is a mention. They beat Cincinnati 34-23 at home. They're 6-2. I think they're better than I thought they were.
Yeah.
And that's good. Like again, I say you have to rank 25 teams. So I think it's reasonable to have Colorado in there.
Yes.
Have they done anything amazing? No. But but you put a number next to their game. People are already interested in them anyway. Now, when you televise their game with that little number next to their name, now more people want to watch.
Yeah,
you get more entrance out of a Texas Tech game because. And they have a bye this week, so Texas Tech's not till the 9th. But you get more interest out of the Texas Tech game because you got a little number by Colorado than you would otherwise. So fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to just get off of the give Colorado hype because they're Colorado train. Like I want them to be what they are, and like them being 6-2 is fun. And obviously a huge upgrade from everything that they were prior to Dion. Like if we put it in that perspective, then this is awesome. But
sure.
And we put it into the perspective of like all of the hype and everything that everything that Travis Hunter is, which is a freak of nature, and as much hype as Shedeur Sanders got, draft guys saying that he's the best, yada, yada, yada. Then it's like, then I want to care about it less because I'm like, you beat Cincinnati, who's a fine Cincinnati team, but it's like, there's other games on this schedule that are as equivalent to this. So it's interesting enough.
Yeah, I mean,
and again,
they lost to the two best teams on their schedule.
Yeah.
Like they lost to the two best teams on their schedule. They lost to Nebraska. They lost to Kansas State, which is fine because they beat everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. And they weren't great against North Dakota State, and they had to beat Baylor in overtime. And Baylor might be a little bit better than they were. Right. And it's not like Arizona is beatable, but
very beatable.
If we just took this same thing and we swapped it out and we replaced it with South Carolina,
let's say Duke, because Duke is 6-2 right now.
Yeah, we replace it with Duke. Well, they might be better than Duke.
Maybe
they might actually be better than Duke.
But
right?
But the thing about it is like we're not. Like the fact that Duke is 6-2 right now is a big deal because Elko left and he's at A&M now, and A&M's doing what they're doing. And then they have the shunned coach from Miami at Duke now, and he's figuring things out. Like the hype around Duke is not the hype around Dion. I mean, I know Dion is Dion, right? I understand like the totality of Colorado and what it is, but like I don't like. Like I want to say they're fine enough. They lost the games that they were supposed to lose, and like they're going to continue. They're not doing anything in the Big 12. They're going to lose to the people. They're going to lose more, and like I hope that when they lose more, we put that into perspective of like they're fine. They're just fine.
Yeah. I think that's fine. I mean, I think when you get to the very bottom of the rankings, you find teams that are just fine. For example, Missouri and Illinois are down there. And actually, this is a great spot for me to talk about the top 25. So let's just do that now. I'm just going to go from the bottom up because we're talking about the bottom. So let me make sure I'm at the AP poll and not the coach poll. Okay. So you got Missouri at 25. Do I think that there are only 24 teams that are better than Missouri? Absolutely not. Absolutely don't think that. I think Missouri could lose to Memphis right now. I think Missouri could lose to Tulane right now. I think Missouri could maybe even lose against Louisville right now, maybe.
Yeah. Right? This is as bad to me as Michigan, for as long as Michigan was ranked. Like, there's no need for it. It's unnecessary.
Yeah, they're just there because, it's just like, Vanderbilt took that close loss. I mean, look, the poll, this is the thing that's very important. The poll moves exactly like we expect it to. You lose a game and you weren't already high ranked, you're going to fall off. Yeah. If you lose a game and you started high ranked, it's going to take you longer to fall off. It's just the way this works.
Yeah.
It's fine. I don't have that big of a problem with it at this stage, right?
Yeah.
Because Illinois is a good team. Do I think that they're better than everybody but 23 teams in the country? No, absolutely I don't. But considering their results and the kind of team they are, like if you took away them getting blown out by Oregon, who I think every team but 6 are going to get blown out by, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
We just talked about Colorado. Colorado's the same. And then you got Washington State at 22. Washington State is 7-1. I almost put them in here in the thing, but I still don't know what to feel about Washington State, and I want it to get a little longer, and I want them to win a little bit more so I can see if they're going to be in the playoff discussion, because that's what's going to be really interesting to me.
Yeah, they got beat down by Boise State early. They lost by 20-21 to Boise State early, and then the rest of their teams is just the most Mountain West schedule of all schedules. So I don't think they do anything, but it's interesting that they're here. I definitely would not have expected a 7-1 Washington State or Oregon State.
Me either.
Like, the fact that they're here is wild.
Yeah, me either. 21 is Army. As mentioned, they play Air Force in the Commander-in-Chief Trophy Eliminator game. Air Force bad, Army good. It doesn't matter. You can literally throw the records out because Army last year was good, or Air Force last year was good, and a big favorite, and Army beat them.
Yeah.
So if you think Air Force won't show up, won't be ready to show up to beat Army, you don't understand Service Academy football.
No.
But still, 7-0 Army. Let's go. Way to go.
Yeah, real rivalry shit.
Yeah. From 20 to 15, we got SMU at 20. We got Ole Miss at 19. Pitt at 18. Kansas State at 17. LSU at 16. Boise State at 15. I'm happy that Boise State is 15.
Yeah.
That's great. This is perfect position for them to be.
Yep. And this is exactly the type of the group that should be 20 to 15. I'm 100% fine with this. All of this makes 1,000% sense to me. Like, all of these teams at this point have no reason to not be in the top 25, and they definitely have shown that they deserve to be higher up. I'm fine with this. Boise State is the best of that group for sure. I think you put them up there. I also think they're better than Alabama, but fine, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I think that this is 100% how I could see this group at this point in the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I also think that Boise State is good. I think that this group of teams, I think if you put all these groups of teams in a round robin, they'd be really even. That's what I think. Just from watching the way the talent is, what have you. Yeah. But look, for good or for bad, Alabama has a very, very good win. And it's hard to discount a very, very good win.
No, but you can't do it.
So that's why they're at 14 above Boise, who has just had a great season. Alabama is a great win and a fine season versus Boise State's just very good season.
Yeah.
So Indiana at 13, Clemson and Iowa State are tied at 11. Texas A&M is 10. We've talked about a lot of these teams already. Iowa State, I I think do Iowa State do we? I think we talked about this before. Iowa State and BYU, do they play?
They do not.
They do not play. So they may only meet up in the conference championship game,
which would be fun.
And I think those are. I still think Kansas State is. It's so hard because BYU beat them. So I guess right now I have to say Kansas State I think is better than Iowa State. I think Kansas State is still very good. I mean, I guess if BYU, I don't know why there's any reason for me to think if BYU and Kansas State didn't play again, BYU wouldn't do the same thing to them. But for some reason, I feel like they wouldn't. I feel like Kansas State is still very good.
I think so too.
But they're fine where they are. I mean, all these teams are fine where they are. Texas A&M. I feel like Texas A&M is a little inflated because I don't trust their offense. But then again, Notre Dame's at 8, and they're maybe the same thing.
Yeah.
And Tennessee's at 7, and they're maybe the same thing. So whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Fine. So yeah, Texas A&M 10, BYU 9, Notre Dame 8, Tennessee 7, Texas 6, Miami 5. Miami's just undefeated. I think that they play a close game against a lot of these teams, and they may not be as talented as all of them, but they've earned their spot so far.
Yeah, and you can win. It is possible inside the college football system to win if you have one guy who's just a freak of nature. And currently, Miami has Cam Ward, and he continues to be a freak of nature. So by the laws of college football, this checks those boxes. And so there's nothing to say that to me that they can't continue to win. I don't necessarily know if I expect that, but if it happened, I would not be shocked.
Sure, yeah. Ohio State 4, Penn State 3, Georgia 2, Oregon 1. Georgia being second and getting some first place votes is I think right. I would take Georgia over Penn State. I don't know that I would take Georgia over Ohio State, but the Ohio State that we saw against Nebraska isn't going to beat Georgia. Isn't going to come close to beating Georgia.
No.
So they obviously Ohio State still has a dud in them. Georgia in their dud, they look so good in the second half. They almost didn't get credit for losing to Alabama, which is interesting in general. It's just an interesting thing in general that you kind of got a freebie, which I don't have any problem with because you're talking about really talented teams at the top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like we talked about Oregon already, they're the best team in the country. Even if they're not the best team in the country, they're the best team in the country. Yeah,
it's fun. Like there's nobody who's been. There's definitely nobody who's been of the group of everybody in the top 25 that we just talked about. There's nobody who has a better resume to this point. You know, even with some tomfoolery at the beginning of the season, like nobody has looked like Oregon has looked.
Nope.
So and Penn State definitely doesn't look like that, and Miami at 8-0 definitely doesn't look like that. So it's like Georgia,
absolutely not.
It is what it is. Georgia, I like a lot too because of how Georgia's like Kirby Smart. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what was going on, but he decided he wanted to pull his defense out of his deep toy box and make them play, and that's what came out in the Texas game, and that's where I think he's doing. That's what I think he's doing in this system. Sure. So Kirby Smart is in my mind the most dangerous coach in college football today, and so his abilities to do the things that he can get his team to do is going to. It makes sense for me to be a 2. They don't have a reason to be above Oregon, but this is them at 2.
Yeah.
They beat. I think that they, we play 10 games against all the other top 5 and all the other top 10. Even like Georgia wins. Everybody outside of Oregon, they win. They win those series most of the time.
Oh, yeah. You feel like they can win anything. You feel like they could beat every team in the country, and that's fine. And that's exactly where these top teams lie. And look, 2 of these top 4 teams are playing. Obviously, 2 of them are going to be playing on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then you're going to see another 2 of these top 4 teams playing again before the end of the year. Perfect. Great.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
That's good. All right. These people are about to kick me the hell out of this thing. So do you have a couple of quick games, just some quick Week 10 games we can talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about Ohio State, Penn State. Ohio State on the road at Happy Valley. They're at a 3.5 point underdog.
Only a 3.5 point.
Or 3.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
Ohio State.
That's Vegas. That's another interesting line to me. Like, I think that Vegas just believes in Penn State more than probably you and I do. But that I kind of would have expected to be a little bit more. I don't really know why.
Yeah, they're just getting home. They're
it.
getting the home team advantage.
Yeah,
that's really it.
So I'm excited. But this is gonna be huge, and it's a morning game. Love to see it. Probably be a whiteout. It's gonna be huge. I'm excited.
Yeah. Florida travels to Georgia. It's a rivalry game. Georgia's a 16-point favorite.
Is this a cocktail party?
Yeah. Largest outdoor cocktail party.
I love it. Florida's going to get absolutely trounced, but I love this. This is my favorite rivalry
they're
game.
probably going to get trounced.
Yeah,
it's great. Oregon travels to Michigan. Oregon's a 15-point favorite.
I hope that they beat Michigan by 21. I think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah. Louisville travels to Clemson. Clemson is a 10.5 point favorite. It's kind of a big show me game for Clemson.
Yeah, and if they show us, then man, I got a lot of confidence in them winning the ACC. So.
Yeah. The game of the evening. I'm glad this is the 7 p.m. game. It'll be a nice game to end off the evening. Pittsburgh travels to SMU. SMU is a 7.5 point favorite at home.
I'm excited about this. I don't. Pittsburgh being good is as weird to me as Illinois and Indiana being good at this point. So I don't know if I believe it, but I'm excited for this to be the night game. It's gonna be cool. And if Pitt gets a win, I'll be excited about that. Man, I'll be excited.
Yeah, look, if Pitt's good, they beat SMU, and then all of a sudden they start getting they move up.
Yeah, right? And they are currently undefeated.
SMU is better, and they should win. Yeah, exactly. And Pittsburgh could win the ACC. I mean, both of these teams could. SMU is the better team, and if they hold serve at home, you go, oh yeah, SMU could be the best team in the ACC. They could. Yeah. I don't know that they are, but I can't say that they're not. Yeah. So there we go.
It's going to be good. Yeah, it's going to be nice.
All right, everybody.
Nice little chill week 10.
Heck yeah. I will be, for everybody that's around on Saturday, I will be at twitch.tv/TickKid.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing a 24-hour gaming fundraiser on Saturday for North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. So we're just supporting one of the community outreach programs that's doing support for that. So if you guys are in between games or on your phone, stop by.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to watch Garrett slowly lose insanity over the course of a day. So pop in.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
See you guys.